I've been flying carry-on only for years, and not because I'm trying to be that person who brags about never checking a bag. It's because for the longest time, it just made sense. It saved money, it saved time, and it gave you the peace of mind knowing everything you needed was right there with you. Never worrying about your stuff getting lost somewhere between Tokyo and Tuktoyaktuk. That sense of control used to be why so many of us traveled carry-on only. Less fear of lost bags, no risk of losing things or things disappearing from checked luggage, no waiting at the carousel, just fewer surprises overall. But lately, I've been wondering, going into 2026, is flying carry-on only still worth it? Because the reasons we used to do it don't really hold up anymore. Let's start with the big one. The fear of losing your luggage. That's been the fear for so many years. But here's the truth. It's not 2010 anymore. Airlines have actually gotten a lot better. According to the SITA's 2024 baggage report, airlines mishandled about 6 bags per 1,000 passengers last year. That's roughly 0.6% worldwide. And in the US, it's even lower, closer to 0.5%.
They've done studies, 60% of the time, it works every time.
That doesn't make sense.
And most of those aren't even lost forever situations. They're just delayed or sent on the next flight. So if you're still clutching your suitcase because you're scared it'll vanish into the abyss, statistically speaking, that's not really the issue anymore. And with the invention of AirTags and now similar ones for Android phones, if your bag does get lost, at least now you can watch it take its dream vacation without you. Then there's cost. For years, the big selling point of carry-on travel was that it saved you money. Airlines would give you a free cabin bag, but charge for a checked one. Now, we're seeing that many carriers have reversed the economics in an effort to make it seem like they've lowered prices on airfare. That's because they've introduced basic economy fares that only include a personal item. And sometimes checked luggage is priced more reasonably than a full-size carry-on. The math isn't as clear-cut anymore. So if it's not about saving money, and it's not really about losing luggage, then why are so many of us still doing it? For me, it comes down to 3 reasons: control, time and efficiency, and mindset. When you keep your bag with you, you remove a variable. No one else touches it, no one else mislabels it. It's with you through every connection, every delay, every sprint through the airport. And a small but underrated perk is peace of mind at security. You know exactly what's in your bag, and there's no waiting around to see if it got randomly inspected somewhere behind the scenes. So keeping my bag with me is the one way I can guarantee I'll arrive at my destination with everything I packed. I don't want to spend the first 48 hours of a trip waiting for my suitcase to catch up. Then there's time. Carry-on travel just makes everything faster. You can skip the bag drop line, head straight to security, and when you land, you walk off the plane and go. I can't tell you how many times I've been halfway to the hotel or already sitting by the pool with a drink while my friends are still waiting for their bags at the carousel. It's not just waiting for your bags, though. Even our Ubers are usually cheaper because we're not leaving the same time as the entire plane. And when you get home after a long flight, that feeling of just walking straight out, no carousel, no waiting, it's unbeatable. And then there's the mindset. Packing light forces you to focus on what matters. And it turns out 3 pairs of jeans are never what matters. It's not about deprivation, it's about clarity. A smaller bag stops you from bringing the just-in-case things that totally clutter your suitcase and your brain. It's less stress, less decision fatigue, and you're not dragging a heavy suitcase over cobblestones wondering why you brought 3 pairs of jeans. And personally, I've found that traveling light makes me enjoy the trip more, and that's what it's supposed to be about. And let's be honest, carry-on travel has kind of turned into its own little subculture online. People comparing liters and grams and which bags fit which airlines. I'm guilty too. I literally have a spreadsheet for this. That said, I recently broke my own rule. On my way home from Japan, I ended up checking my carry-on. I already had a big duffel bag full of souvenirs that I was checking anyway, and I thought, why not just check my suitcase too? And honestly, it was kind of nice. I breezed through the airports with just my backpack, so no overhead bin stress, no dragging my roller into the bathroom, no trying to balance it while I'm trying to buy food or coffee. And because I was using high quality luggage, everything came out perfectly fine on the other end. No broken wheels, no damage, nothing. It made me realize that even for die-hard carry-on travelers, sometimes it's okay to bend your own rules, at least on the flight home. I probably won't do it on my way to a destination. I like the peace of mind knowing everything I need made it with me. But heading home? Maybe that's where checking your bag earns its redemption arc. And that brings me to one of the biggest reasons I can travel this way so comfortably, having the right gear. And for me, that starts with power and organization. A universal travel adapter is a big help with that, and I love traveling with the adapter from today's video sponsor, Epica. They're genuinely reliable, and as the #1 travel adapter brand in the US, they just keep making smarter versions for real-life travel problems. They just sent me their newest release, the Air 40-watt adapter. It's ultra compact, about 40% slimmer than most adapters, and weighs just 4 ounces, so it barely takes up any space in my tech pouch. It's also compatible in 200 countries and regions. It delivers 40 watts of power, which is huge for its size, and it can even handle fast charging. And with the multiple plugs and ports, you can charge 5 devices at once. And even if you're traveling somewhere where you don't need an adapter, or when you're at home, you could just use this as your main charging station. I keep this in my office with all my gear plugged in, and when it's time to go travel, I just toss it in my bag. I'm also a fan of their Trip Cozy Mesh Compression Packing Cubes. I love the set of 4 because it's optimized perfectly for carry-on size. My favorite feature is that they zip all the way around, so they're easier to pack than the usual top-load cubes. Plus, they feature color-coded zippers. Black is for access and packing, white is for the compression feature. And here's 2 more features that make these extra special. They're made with an antibacterial inner liner, and they have a mesh top, so not only can you see what you've packed, but that also helps them breathe. So everything stays fresh. This is important because sometimes I use packing cubes for different outfits or segments of my trip, which means some cubes might stay packed and unopened for several days at a time until I need them. So that helps prevent things from getting all stuffy or musty, especially if you're traveling somewhere humid. They're structured, lightweight, and make it so much easier to stay organized, especially when you're trying to fit everything into a carry-on. I use them to separate outfits, keep laundry contained, and they actually compress down to save space. Grab your Epica Air 40-watt travel adapter and the Trip Cozy packing cubes for the perfect travel bundle under $50, only when you use the exclusive code and link in the video description and comments. Of course, there's another layer to all of this. Once you're actually on the plane, you can see the divide between 2 types of travelers. You've got the carry-on loyalists who bring a roller bag plus a small personal item, and then there's the check it and chill crowd. They drop their bag at the counter and board with just a backpack or a purse. And that's where the drama starts. Because that second group, the I'll just check it and travel light crowd, they often board expecting to stash their backpack in the overhead bin for extra legroom. But then flight attendants ask them to move it to their feet to make more room for roller bags. It's not anyone's fault, it's just the modern reality of flying. Too many people, not enough bin space, and everyone trying to maximize their comfort. Still, I've noticed that once boarding finishes, there's almost always a bit of room left. There's always gaps either above or in between bags, sometimes even enough space on top of them. So there's always room to find space for something as soon as the door closes. The chaos we all expect isn't always as bad as we think.
It's totally made up. Pure fiction.
It's fiction.
It's fiction. We made it up.
That said, the carry-on game itself has gotten harder. Airlines have tightened their size restrictions, sizer bins have definitely gotten smaller, and gate agents are stricter. Some are even incentivized to check bags. Recently, Ryanair even raised the bonus for employees who catch oversized cabin bags, so now they have actual financial motivation to ruin your day. Even perfectly compliant bags sometimes get tagged and checked if the flight's full. And honestly, that's the irony. You can follow every rule perfectly and still lose the battle at the gate if the flight is packed. So it's not just about packing light anymore, it's more about packing strategically. You have to know your airline's exact dimensions, your bag's real measurements, and sometimes even be ready to sneak or charm your way through the gate if they're cracking down. It's not, can you do it anymore? It's, how well can you do it? And I think part of why people still do it, even though the rules have gotten tougher, is because it still gives them a sense of control. So, after all this, is flying carry-on still worth it going into 2026 and the years ahead? I think it is, but not for the same reasons it used to be. It's not about saving $35. It's not about paranoia over losing your stuff. It's about the experience, the convenience, the independence, and the peace of mind knowing you can move freely from airport to destination without being slowed down by the system. It allows you to travel lighter, faster, and a little more free. That said, it's not the only right way to travel. There's a time for packing light and a time for checking it in. The key is knowing the difference. To be fair, carry-on isn't realistic for everyone. Families, older travelers, anyone with mobility challenges, sometimes checking a bag is simply the easier, smarter choice. I think if you're taking a direct flight, so no connections, and just staying in one location for the entire trip, so you're not moving hotels, and you just take a cab or private transportation directly to your hotel from the airport, it's probably not a big deal to check a bag. And in this case, it might be the better option. If, on the other hand, you have a connecting flight or you're moving hotels multiple times, you're taking different forms of transportation, it's probably a good idea to run your trip with a carry-on, or maybe even just a backpack. But even if your flight is direct and you're not making any hotel switches, personally, I still prefer to travel light. Because every time I pack less, I end up coming home with more. More memories, more stories, and more energy from a great trip. Because at the end of the day, it's never really been about the luggage. Flying carry-on isn't about being minimalist for the sake of it. It's about traveling on your own terms. Lighter, faster, and with the freedom to decide when it makes sense to break your own rules. Carry-on travel will stick around, but the reasons people do it will keep evolving. It's not about beating the system anymore. It's about designing your own way of moving through it. And honestly, that's kind of what travel's about anyway. Let's continue the conversation in the comments. I would love to know your thoughts. And while you're there, check out Epica's Travel Essentials. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.